Hello, and thank you for joining us today for Taming Your Billing and Payment Monsters by Paymentus. I'm Nicole Haskins, one of the many monster taming experts here at Paymentus, and we appreciate you joining us for a little bit of fun as we talk about a pretty serious issue, which are the top 9 billing and payment problems plaguing billers today. As you all know, we're going to share a little bit more about monsters after this session, where you'll each be given a monster taming kit that we'll send out your way. But for today, we just want to focus a little bit about why we brought together a monsters content. So many of you, whether you're in insurance, utilities, cities, certainly in auto or consumer finance or banking and fintech, you go home at the end of the day, just like we all do, and you think about your day and the problems you need to solve, from finance and customer service to IT. And you start to sort of have those festering moments, and you think through as you wind down, really what bothered you about the day? What problems do you need to solve? What's keeping you and your staff up at night? Are you being tasked to drive up adoption in self-service channels? Are you seeing cost increases on your print and mail? Are you concerned about compliance or security information or issues around your data? Are you getting complaints about customer experiences? And are your customers satisfied with their checkout process, their payment process, their e-billing, paper suppression process? Are you struggling with inefficient billing and payment systems or reporting or reconciliation? Are you just being asked to do more with less, to save money, to stay up with the times, and to make sure that you're keeping all of those consumers that you serve happy? And so again, Paymentus wanted to spend some time just sharing some of the common issues that billers face. And the monsters are a great way to do that, with a representation for each of these common issues. And monsters exist for every biller, so everyone should feel very comfortable that they have monsters. They never just go away. As if you're trying to drive adoption, you next year still need to drive adoption. So really what you're doing is you're taming, containing, capturing, wrangling, and disarming these monsters, working with vendors and solutions and practices that can keep them in that box, keep them in that containment center, so that they're not wreaking havoc on your organization. And they do love to wreak havoc. They like to wreak havoc in pairs and friendships and families, and getting in their minivans of fun, and all the different monsters coming into your biller cities and coming into your biller entities and saying, I'm here to have a little fun, but make it very, very difficult on this particular biller entity. So why don't we start with meeting the monsters and sort of each of the problems that they represent. And even though they look like a fun little Brady Bunch here, they certainly create issues, distractions, and problems for a lot of you that are on the phone. We have Ingrid, and Ingrid represents inertia, and we have Fraggle with his disjointed systems, Kludge with his outdated dependency on print and paper, Stinger, who's consistently looking for ways to creep into your data and compliance issues, Brock's creating constant roadblocks and Mort's sluggardness, Argus is cross-eyed from having to consistently look at all the layers, with Furva, who's constantly hiding and creating lack of transparency, and then Crunkus. Poor Crunkus in that bottom right-hand corner is just ugly enough that people don't want to come back and use your automation for billing and payments. People don't enjoy the experience. And we all know that if you build it, they will not come. But if you build it and it's bad, they certainly won't come back. So the family of the billing and payment monsters is something that, again, is our way of just having a little fun, saying these are ways to look at and identify some of the many issues that billers face today, and identifying and knowing where your problems might lie really help you quickly solve them. Now, all the monsters, as they come into Monster City and Biller City, have really one mission. They want to party, create friction for all, create mayhem, but they want to wreak havoc as much as possible in your server rooms, in your IT, with your staff, with your customer service teams, with your data, with your integrations. Their job in life is to create havoc. Your job is to obviously serve your end customer, create a frictionless process for billing, payments, communication, information. And those things do not complement each other. But we all have to get through those different monsters in each of our day-to-day jobs. And we all have to close our eyes at the end of the day and say we did the best we could. And we know that those monsters are here to keep you up at night. So let's see what some of those problems might be. And if you can identify with a few of them, we're here to help you solve them. So Brock, the blockhead, is really representing clunky payment experiences. Do I need PIN numbers and multiple passwords? And is there an ability for me to have to or be able to pay without logging in? Do I have to remember my account numbers? And as Brock stands in the way of a customer's payment journey, he's really creating roadblocks to completing the journey of a transaction for the service that you're providing as a biller. You notice that he has the barbed shoulder pads. He's trying to scare customers into abandoning their payment path. He's tired for constantly standing in the way, and he's creating those walls that really eliminate the ability for quick and easy communication. Argus, the ungainly we call him, really represents the difficulty in reporting reconciliation. Over the years, lots of billing and payment providers and processes have layered and layered and layered upon layer solutions that make it almost impossible to really truly understand your analytics, your reconciliation, your costs, your inefficiencies that you can then solve. And Argus loves that. You'll notice that he's consistently multiplying, almost like a little gremlin, where he consistently wants to get in here and create problems for you and your finance teams and staff. He obviously is a permanent frown and multiple eyes because he's having to look at dozens of systems. What was our IVR payments today? What did that gateway do? What posted? What didn't post? In fact, he's so weighed down by all the different revenue solutions and streams and managements and clumsy items out there that he's almost lopsided. And then there's Ingrid, the frostbound. She's frozen and she's unable to modernize. So even while your citizens and customers and consumers are demanding next steps, things like digital wallets and PayPal, the ability to digitize cash, the ability to set up pay nows and laters, text to pays and chatbots, because of the inefficiencies of a lot of what systems that billers have today, it creates this inertia, it creates this inability to move. And she, of course, is frozen in time, which can many times really stifle what your staff is able to do. Creating that inertia, really industry and sometimes, agency-wide. Some of her, attributes are everything she touches turns to ice. She's stuck in a place and she can't move forward, even though she wants to. But she can't see everything that's going on or evolving around her. And as we all know, in the billing and payment space, things are evolving fast. But if you're with a vendor, if you're with a legacy solution, or if you have the inability to truly see how to future-proof your solutions, Ingrid is definitely a monster you need to watch out for. Mort is very sluggard, very slow, mucks up pretty much everything. And he's really looking at and representing sort of those, again, legacy billing and payment systems or legacy data systems that you're required to leverage. You need to integrate to. These are investments you may have made for years and years and years into an old AS400 or green screens, and modernizing that can be very, very difficult. So you can imagine if you have Mort and Ingrid and Brock hanging out in your biller city, in your biller facility, in your biller environment, you really have the perfect storm of how are we going to get to where we need to be to serve our customers best. I do enjoy Mort's antics, certainly leaving slime everywhere he goes. We go to improve reporting, we've broken integration. We've gone to add a chatbot or secure service so I can take payments, PCI compliant call center. We've broken IVR. And the reason is there's nothing uniform. There's nothing combined. There's nothing that truly is able to say, we're going to bring this together and create a solution that's swift, fast, speedy, and agile. A couple things about Mort. He gobbles up data, can't be shared in real time. I mentioned that he has a lot of slime and a heavy shell, and he's just slows everything down. He's a happy looking guy, unlike Stinger. So Stinger is probably the scariest monster of them all. He's looming. He has all 8 of those legs looking for nooks and crannies of where you would have to be vulnerable, where you could get stung. This is your compliance. This is your NACHA, your PCI, your PII, your data concerns. Areas of focus that a lot of billers are trying to make sure they stay on top of that really should be outsourced to third parties is around that compliance, removing the burden of PCI. And it can be anywhere. It can be in your HVAC systems like we saw years ago with some of the big data breaches that happened. But your IT teams are trying to see it all. And ultimately, Stinger is there to get in again every little space he can. And so he sticks to sensitive payment information and hangs on to it for future. Allows multiple pathways to pry apart security systems, and he's just slipping through those cracks and firewalls and security defenses. And really, this billing and payment monster is 100% here to stay, but you can contain him and you can tame him with the right solutions in place. Crunkus. Crunkus has sort of that moldy cheese look to him. And this is actually a more common problem than most people realize. We've all gone to retail sites and shopping sites where you're going through the process of your checkout and your purchase and finding out how much you owe and when you owe it, but just doesn't feel like a modern solution. It really doesn't feel like something I want to use again. Maybe it's asked me to enter again my information or double check my account number, put in a few dashes here and there. And so I'm having more keystrokes, more screens, more directions to read. And that really causes problems because if it's easier to write a check or call customer service than make a payment through a simple user interface, we have a problem. And Crunkus loves problems. He likes to spread the problems and create as much ugly, smelly grossness possible to really deter customers from utilizing your systems. So he has the little pinchers because he loves to certainly make it painful so people don't want to use it. He loves aversion therapy, I think. Some jaundiced skin and warts, excuse me, some unpleasant features, including some that are really displeasing and not worthwhile while using. If you think about this, we've all been through login screens that require 3 to 4 pieces of information just to find out how much we owe and to check out and make a payment. Or I need to enter my zip code 4 times in a row, or I can't save my payment information. So I have to go find the credit card, remember the CVV, grab it out of my car. And what happens then is people don't come back. They find different ways to pay, or they're just displeased while doing it. And if you think about payments, this is the end of the transaction. The billing's the beginning, the service in the middle, right? Throughout to the next billing, the payment at the end. And if the billing piece and the bill delivery piece is not attractive and the experience at the end is not attractive, it naturally goes along that the entire journey was unattractive. Fraggle. Fraggle is actually one of our newer monsters we uncovered, and he's sort of a hot mess. We call him the frazzled, but ultimately what he means and what he represents is as systems and solutions started to evolve, as IVR systems improved, chatbots became available, digital wallets became available. Instead of looking holistically at an entire system, an entire solution, an entire platform that you have, what we found is billers started to bolt on different pieces. I need a chatbot. I need to take PayPal. I need a virtual assistant. But because it can feel very daunting to rip and replace, and they weren't working with solutions that could truly complement each other, they ended up with sort of this disparate ragdoll of an option, which causes a lot of problems. You've got wires, files, data everywhere. It's not uncommon that we're seeing 3 to 12 different vendors inside biller communities, inside billers themselves, from everywhere from print and paper to e-bill and delivery to IVR and phone to payments and ACH and Amex and credit. All of these vendors, which are contracts and costs and management and oversight, and of course, integrations, has created one of the most unattractive, ugliest monsters I've ever seen. No consistency. And so regardless of the channel, it feels omni-channel. I have all these things. I have chat, I have IVR, I have web, I have mobile. I'm mobile first technology. But to the end user, it's disjointed. To the end user, it's duct taped together. So he's prehistoric. He's a bit unsteady because at any moment he could come crashing down. You never know where there's going to be a single point of failure, because there's not a single point of failure. There's many possible points of failure. Kludge is also a newly uncovered monster. The reason is we all remember the days when everyone was going paperless. Paper checks also were a thing of the past. But unfortunately, it just didn't happen. And why didn't it happen? Because it wasn't really driven by industry leaders that were experts in bill delivery, that were electronic, that were experts in digital payments. Instead, it was actually driven by bill printers or those looking to supplement the cost of bill print with the cost of e-bill. And so that lack of consistent and like-mindedness of our job here is to reduce costs, reduce paper, reduce incoming paper and outgoing paper created Kludge. And so Kludge loves paper. He eats paper, he sits in paper, he lives in paper. He doesn't want to recycle. He doesn't want to reduce his footprint. He is there to make it difficult. And part of the reason he can make it difficult is because unless you're working with vendors who are like-minded to reduce paper, who are not incentivized to keep paper, who are not charging you for the reduction of paper, the equivalent of a stamp almost, you actually are going in the wrong direction. And Kludge is heavy. He's not leaving. He's a tree. He's going to stay there and stick to his limbs with the sap on it and everything. He is not interested in optimizing revenue. He wants to eat away at your margins and make it difficult for customers to truly understand and adopt paper suppression or move from check, or for you no longer sending out checks or refunds, instead using automation for disbursements. So Kludge is one of those areas that I think we all thought, along with our Judy Jetson, Rosie was going to clean our house, is that at this point in 2023 and into 2024, we didn't expect to have as much paper as we do today. But one of the things holding us back is the monsters together are, again, wreaking havoc. And if you have a siloed system like Fraggle, if you have Argus, running around with inconsistent reporting reconciliation, it makes Kludge more powerful. Furva, probably one of my favorite new monsters that we uncovered. And she was pretty hard to find. She's pretty mysterious, hides in dark corners. And the reason is sometimes you don't know where all your problems are. Sometimes you can't see them. Sometimes customers and staff themselves are in such a micro ecosystem in their environment. They're just in service, they're just in reconciliation, they're just in IT, that bringing it all together to create that transparency for improvement is very difficult. Again, you kind of see her blend into the background. And it isn't until you're willing to take that charge that we're going to tame our billing and payment monsters that Furva really becomes that last monster that sort of creeps out of the way, opens an eye and says, I'm still here. And I'm still here, and you need to solve for me too. You need to say, we're going to pull back that onion, all those layers, and from the ground up, revisit, what does a holistic billing and payment system look like? What could it be? Is your current system indecipherable? Is it taking too long and is slow? Is it disheveled and creating lots of confusion, whether it be for the customer or your internal staff? And so finding ways to solve for Furva isn't always easy, which is why she's really sort of the last monster standing that you need to tame. which means you have to work with experts to truly understand the ins and outs of what you're doing today and how to move it forward and get out of those legacy solutions. So that was our monster family, all 9 of them, best of friends, reunions throughout the years. But really, they're a fun way to represent pretty common problems billers are facing. And so if we think about how are we going to get them scooped out of Biller City, this is where Paymentus, of course, is a holistic billing and payment solution that serves over 1,900 different customers in many different verticals. But what we recognize very quickly is we can't just solve one problem or contain one problem. We have to do it all. We have to figure out how we're reducing burdens and issues for our billers so that they can focus on what they do best, which is the actual service that you're billing for. So how do we tame those monsters? Well, for your customers, we offer convenient ways to pay anytime, anywhere, through more payment methods and more channels than any other vendor, all in a single holistic system. We're of course bringing in things like e-bill and reducing print costs and using simple, straightforward user experiences with no instructions to require fewer steps to complete a payment so that your customers are in and out and have a great experience and adopt the pieces of technology that you need them to adopt, things like auto pay and paper suppression, so that you lower your costs without, though, raising your overhead and management of those systems. And for your agency, we're an omni-channel solution, multidimensional in all kinds of channels and back office solutions, from call center technology to disbursements to true analytics to drive and understand the behavior of your customers. 100% modern hosted SaaS technology to allow for easy implementation and third-party hosted systems that you are reducing your burden on PCI and managing security through a third-party vendor. With over 400 integrations and growing, that real-time data exchange, that MORT, that benefits both you and your external customers is critical. And again, a holistic view into not just how you're deploying billing and payments, but also how you're reconciling and how the health of your systems are doing for finance and customer service. And so another way to look at this is really through this complete solution. So all the different payment methods with all the different payment channels, and a way to measure the success, a way to show, manage, monitor, and reconcile soup to nuts. And you don't see any monsters in here sneaking in. That doesn't mean they're gone. Remember, those adoption and keeping up with the times and reconciliation and transparency, there are always problems that exist, but you have to have a trusted, vetted vendor to contain and tame them. So are you ready to tame your monsters? Are you ready to chat with a monster taming expert, or maybe just take the quiz so that you can find out which is your biggest monster plaguing you today? I encourage each of you to reach out, even if it's just to share a little feedback. Maybe you have a couple tidbits or a different monster that we hadn't thought about. Maybe you want to share with us, a way that you would like to understand how we can help you reduce your burden, how we can provide you a holistic solution so that you can tame and contain. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. And thank you for just having a little bit of fun with us on a very serious subject. But Paymentus is very proud to certainly spend some time sharing opportunities to learn a bit about how you can improve in your entire end-to-end billing, payment, and money movement solutions today. Thanks so much.